You know what's wild? Your brain might be actively conspiring to keep you broke, and the battleground is your favorite restaurant. Not because you're weak or bad with money, because humans literally evolved to make the exact financial decisions that destroy modern bank accounts. And nowhere does this show up more clearly than in how we think about eating out. Here's what nobody tells you about restaurant spending. It's not really about the food. When you're sitting there scrolling through DoorDash at 9 p.m., your brain isn't calculating compound interest or retirement savings. It's running ancient software designed for a world that no longer exists. A world where finding prepared food meant survival, where convenience was life or death, and where planning 3 meals ahead was basically pointless because you might get eaten by something with bigger teeth. Fast forward to now, and that same programming is quietly bankrupting you one burrito bowl at a time. The average American spends around $3,200 per year eating out. But here's where it gets psychologically interesting. Most people have zero idea they're spending that much. Ask someone how much they drop on restaurants monthly and they'll lowball it by half. This isn't dishonesty. It's something way more fascinating. Your brain literally doesn't register small, repeated purchases the same way it processes big ones. There's actually a term for this: payment decoupling. Basically, when you swipe a card for $17, your brain doesn't connect that action to your actual wealth decreasing. The pain of paying gets separated from the pleasure of consuming. So you end up in this weird loop where you feel broke but can't figure out why, because no single purchase seems that bad. Meanwhile, if someone asked you to write a check for $3,200 labeled annual restaurant fund, you'd probably have a minor crisis. Same money, completely different psychological response. Think about what happens when you decide to grab lunch out instead of packing something. You're not just buying food, you're buying convenience. Yes, but you're also buying identity, social connection, the feeling of treating yourself, a break from routine, status signaling, even if you don't want to admit it. All of that gets wrapped into a $14 salad and your brain processes it as totally worth it because you're not just paying for lettuce. This is why the just make coffee at home advice feels so condescending even though the math is absolutely correct. Nobody's buying the $7 latte purely for caffeine. They're buying the ritual, the environment, the perceived upgrade to their day. Your brain knows this, and it will fight you hard on giving it up. But here's what makes this particularly brutal. Every dollar you spend eating out isn't just a dollar gone. It's every future dollar that money could have become. Financial advisors call this opportunity cost, but that term doesn't capture the actual psychological weight of what's happening. Let's get specific for a second. That $3,200 per year on restaurants, invested instead at a conservative 7% return, becomes over $200,000 in 30 years. Not because of magic, because of time and compound growth doing what it does when you actually let it work. $200,000. That's not retirement money for most people, but it's absolutely quit your job for a year to figure out what you actually want money. It's never worry about car repairs again money. It's freedom money, traded away for the temporary dopamine hit of not having to cook on a Tuesday. And your brain will fight this realization every single step of the way. Let's talk about something nobody wants to hear. The resistance you feel when someone suggests meal prepping or skipping that delivery order isn't weakness. It's your brain doing exactly what evolution designed it to do, which is prioritize immediate reward over abstract future benefit. This is called temporal discounting, and it's why a burger right now feels infinitely more valuable than being slightly wealthier in 3 decades. Your ancestors who delayed gratification to save berries for next winter had better survival odds. True, but your ancestors who spotted immediate calories and grabbed them also survived, maybe even better in certain environments. We inherited both impulses, and in a world of infinite food availability, the grab it now circuit fires way more intensely than the save for later one. This creates a psychological trap that's almost impossible to escape without deliberate intervention. You know rationally that cooking saves money. You've done the math, you've seen the budget apps, you understand compound interest. But when you're tired after work and someone asks what's for dinner, your brain isn't doing cost-benefit analysis. It's screaming for the path of least resistance. Here's what makes it worse. Our food environment is specifically engineered to exploit these vulnerabilities. Restaurant apps, loyalty programs, limited-time offers, they're all designed by people who understand behavioral psychology better than you do. They know exactly which buttons to push to make that $17 lunch feel inevitable. The "you deserve it" marketing angle hits especially hard because it's technically true. You do deserve to enjoy your life. The manipulation is in suggesting that enjoyment requires constant spending, that treating yourself well and spending money are the same thing. They're not, but your tired brain at 6 p.m. doesn't want to argue semantics. What actually breaks this cycle isn't willpower. Willpower is a terrible strategy because it depletes. You can white-knuckle your way through a few days of packed lunches, then crack and order delivery for a week straight. This is why most people's relationship with eating out looks like a yo-yo diet. Extreme restriction followed by guilty binges. Repeat forever. The shift happens when you stop fighting your brain's wiring and start working with it. Make the convenient choice also the cheap choice. That means having ready-to-eat food in your space that requires zero mental effort to access. Not ingredients, not meal prep containers you have to assemble. Actual food you can grab when your brain is running on fumes. Batch cooking works when you do it during high-energy moments, not as a Sunday chore you resent. Keep backup options that cost $3 instead of $17, except that you'll still eat out sometimes, and that's fine. The goal isn't perfection, it's reducing frequency enough that the math starts working in your favor instead of against you. Because here's the thing that should genuinely bother you. Every system in modern life is designed to separate you from your money as efficiently as possible. The food industry figured out how to make spending feel good, look easy, and seem necessary. They've got behavioral scientists on payroll making sure you keep coming back. You can either be aware of this and adjust accordingly, or you can keep wondering why you're always broke despite having a decent income. Your brain's programming isn't going to change, but your environment can. And that's where the actual power lives. The choice is yours, but understand what you're actually choosing. Every time you pick convenience over awareness, you're voting for a future version of yourself who's still stressed about money. The restaurants aren't going anywhere. They'll be there when you actually want them, not just when your exhausted brain defaults to them. The difference between financial stress and financial breathing room often comes down to whether you let your programming run on autopilot or occasionally override it with intention. Not constantly, not perfectly, just enough that compound interest gets a chance to do something other than work against you.